Hey, hello, and welcome to the Show and Tell. I'm John Park, and this is the Wednesday edition of our Show and Tell program. My glasses are working things. I'm taking them off. So thank you for stopping by. We had a lovely hour-long Show and Tell last night. A whole bunch of great products that people brought by. And now we're gearing up for our Thursday, did I call it Wednesday? Our Thursday edition Show and Tell, which is a half hour long, not the full hour. And we have just a couple of guests, I think, this week. I also brought a little something I wanted to show and tell myself. And my apologies, because I did not blog this earlier today. So I give people super fair warning that they ought to come on and show their stuff. But you can count on every Thursday at this time, 2:30 Pacific, 5:30 Eastern. I'll be here with you, and we've got a half hour to show some cool, fun projects. So please come on by. Also, I'll mention, if you've missed the show either last night's or you hear about this one after the fact, okay, because we've got them all archived on our YouTube channel. So head on over to the Adafruit YouTube channel. You can go to adafruit.com and click on the video link at the top to get there, or just search around. I bet you'll find it. And we, I believe, have a full playlist of all of the show and tell, or shows and tells, that you can find there. So that's all the vamp do. And now we're going to bring on our very first guest, which is our own Phil B. Paint Your Dragon. Hello, Phil.
Hello there.
Nice to see you.
Likewise. Hey, so some number of weeks back on Wednesday's Show and Tell, I had brought by this old Tandy 102. You have one of these.
I have a 102. I do, yes.
Yeah, you pulled it out. And anyway, I was showing this off. This is something that they sold these at Radio Shack in the early to mid 1980s. And it was an interesting machine. It ran off AA batteries and stuff. But you know, time goes by, and once the laptop form factor came out, that was just kind of the end of it. And I don't know why, but just something about this. It's a really neat form factor, just having this one-piece slab, you know, a keyboard, a display.
I love it.
Yeah, it's very, very back to basics. But, you know, it's a dinosaur. It has this very low contrast LCD on it and whatever. And somebody during that show and tell, and I forget who it was during the chat, might have been Toddbot, suggested, what about like gutting this and putting a Raspberry Pi in it? Mm-hmm. And like replacing the display and stuff. Because I had this open up for cleaning. It turns out underneath here, it's just air inside. Yeah, you know, the PCB is up here and there's just this huge gap. Yeah. And I was almost tempted, but I didn't want to trash this, you know. And it's like, wait a minute, we live in the future. You know, we have 3D printers, we have laser cutters and stuff. So I don't need to destroy this. You know, I probably could fit some things in here, but why, right? So anyway, but I went looking on AliExpress for something in this kind of form factor for a display. I will switch cameras here because I have something. There it is. Oh, focus. There you go. So I found this display on AliExpress. These are normally used in, there's these rear view mirror backup cameras for cars where the screen is behind a half mirror. And so most of the time it's a rear view mirror, but when the display turns on, it functions as a backup camera. So I found this particular one. I liked it because it's 1920 by 480, has lots of pixels. There's all different sizes though, but I like this one. Some of them have touch. I opted not for touch because those were lower resolution. And at the moment, it's just hooked up to a Pi 3 and a USB keyboard. And you know, the keyboards also now, they're just wafer thin. I could probably make something on the laser cutter to hold all these pieces together. And maybe I'd put a little trackpad over here or something. I don't know yet. But this showed up today.
Cool monitor, really cool form factor. I love it. So strange.
Yeah, it's just an insane number of pixels. And you know, like actually using it, I would probably just put up 2 text windows and edit code because I'm weird that way. But I mean, you can run the whole graphical you know, desktop there if you wanted to. So
that's really cool. Yeah, I like the idea of doing maybe 2 windows over and under, and they're very squat, so it feels a little bit like the 20 lines or whatever you had on the TRS-80.
I think it was 8 lines. I think it was 40 by 8. It was really limited.
Yeah.
But anyway, that just showed up today, and I'm supposed to be programming today. But so don't tell Lamar that
this is a secret.
This showed up today, and I had to get it working, you know. And there's a lot of gyrations you got to go through on the Raspberry Pi side when you have something with a weird resolution like this. And so that was a bit of a learning experience on how to do these weird video modes. It turns out this isn't, I said it's 1920 by 480. Natively, it's actually a 480 by 1920 display. And you have to
even weirder.
Yeah, right. So you have to give it all this, you know, these timing numbers, and then you have to tell the Pi to rotate the frame buffer so you can use it in the wide aspect ratio. So that's kind of step one, is just getting the screen up and working. And sometime in my copious free time, I couldn't tell you when, I'll try to make some kind of housing for all of this with a battery and stuff like that.
Oh, I really love it. That's a cool project. And again, the connector, is this a ribbon cable connector that's going into the display?
Yeah, so what we have, it's HDMI from the Pi, and then all these LCDs have what's called a MIPI interface, MIPI. I don't know what it stands for. And I don't understand one thing about MIPI. It's not like a standard connector. It's something about the signaling is what MIPI is. And so every one of these displays has its own special connector here, and then you can buy them with an adapter board to go from the MIPI ribbon thing to HDMI over to something more conventional that can drive it.
That's really cool. One of the things I've seen, because I think there's something really interesting. We're so used to a couple of ratios of monitors and in our lives, like 4:3 and 16:9, that anything that's either not a rectangle or a strange ratio of rectangle is sort of special. And I've seen some people just cut out windows, like you hide a bigger monitor, but you make or you make a weird ratio. But you're right, to be able to fit the keyboard under this, you could super thin version of a slab computer, you call it. I love it.
Yeah, and there were some of these that were taller, you know, a taller rectangle, but I wanted to keep it like about the size of a, you know, standard lettered sheet of paper. It's just, it's an appealing size. I didn't, you know, once you go over that, there's no end. You're just gonna go too big. So I like that this was a fairly svelte display, and I don't know where I'm going with it, but it was well to experiment with.
I love that you've sourced it and shared it with the world, because it really put ideas in people's heads. I think, you know, I had done a bunch of sort of these escape room puzzle box kind of projects a while ago, and I high-end ones that do incorporate screens, but they often feel like someone just slipped a tablet in there. I think doing a odd ratio screen like this is very special if you're doing like sci-fi props or those types of
I was thinking that as well, that I don't like something in a gauntlet or something that goes on your arm. I don't even know, but it's just like once you see the thing running, it's like, ooh, what can I do with this?
That's neat. And one other question I have is with this, is this you said it uses this MIPI display port or ribbon connector. Something you think is stable-ish enough, sourceable enough that multiple people could get into this? Or is it like getting this one to work wouldn't apply to much of what you'd source out there in the rest of the world?
I'm pretty sure what I learned interfacing this one, I could probably apply that to other ones. It'd be changing some numbers or whatever, because that's always the mystery with when you get these weird displays, is you go back a month later and they might be gone now.
Right.
So I just tweeted about it. Someone asked, so I gave a link to the actual AliExpress store where I found it.
Great.
Like I said, you'll find other ones, some with touch, some taller or wider or other sizes, but this for the particular project, that was a size that I liked. But anyway, you mentioned weird display form factors, and that reminded me, you know, we can get round LCDs now, but before that was a thing, a lot of devices, they would use a square LCD and just put a round cutout for it.
Just mask it. Yeah.
Yeah, so it looks like it's a round display, but
that's effective too. Yeah.
Yeah, it's just trickery. So
I like it.
That's what I got going on right now. I got to get back.
Thank you.
To code.
That was a really cool show and tell. And maybe it looks like someone has put a link, probably from your tweet, over into the Adafruit Discord. So
yes.
Go check that out if you're interested. I know I am.
A thing to watch out on these displays also, usually they'll have two prices, one for just the display and then one that includes the adapter board. And you definitely want the adapter board or it's e-waste.
Yeah. And you know, I was just realizing a silly fun use is, you know how some people sell, like think places used to sell rear view mirrors for your monitor so you could see who's sneaking up behind you. This would be a nice, ridiculously high-tech version to point to webcam behind you and have your digital rear view mirror instead of a pedestrian mirror.
That could be comical. Yeah.
Put that up here. Yeah.
Yeah. Or like I said, you can stick it vertically on the side. It's a weird screen.
So strange. Yeah. The one, especially with the touch screen, could be a super cool, you know how like the entire toolbox of Photoshop and similar apps is usually off on the left and is a tall thing. It'd be fun to have like a little touch screen.
Or the palette thing with your layers in it. Yeah. Usually,
your layer palette. Yeah.
Yeah, would be nice to have that bit of real estate back. Wouldn't
Very interesting. Yeah. C. Grover mentioned in the chat, perfect MIDI controller /sequencer, and there's a ratio that's great for a few tracks of 16 or 32 notes of music stuff that would fit nicely on this.
And like I said, you might find a slightly different aspect ratio that's like really suits a task. So anyway, that's what I got going, and I'll hang out over here and watch the goings
Excellent.
on.
Cool. Thanks, Phil. Thanks for bringing that cool monitor by. And
you bet.
Looking forward to seeing people do stuff with that and more of what you do with it. So. All right. So now let's see. We've got a few people who have joined us. So I'll just to give people a heads up to prepare. I'm going to go in the order: Carrie, Alvaro, and Mark. Those are the other three people that we have. So Carrie, you are up. Hello.
Awesome. Hello. So we have a project here with some surplus traffic lights, because when you find traffic lights for like $12 each, you just kind of have to buy them. So we're kind of using it as a learn some Arduino code project and fun, and I'll show you the control board in a second for it. But the traffic lights are basically controlled by buttons, and you can just light them up however you want. So they are very, very bright. You don't get the full effect over the video, but here you can see kind of how we're doing on the controlling aspect of this. So this is the control board. We basically have these three guys which are actually in control of the traffic lights. And those are all going into, the switch inputs are going into an Arduino Leonardo clone. And then the clone is controlling 3 relays. And then there's just some busing of the 120 volt wire, or 110 volt AC wire. Actually, the traffic lights are all AC. And I'll try to show them to you from here because it's kind of a better angle. There you go. You can see the lights like a little bit better now. But the eventual idea here is to turn it into a Simon Says game. So that's what we got going on.
That's really beautiful. I love it. The green is kind of a cyan-y green. At least that's how it's picking up on the computer.
Yeah, it is. It's a very nice. It kind of has that blue green that the LED traffic lights have. Yeah. So anyway, it's kind of fun, and it's a fun project, and we have it all up on Hackaday right now too, and the code is up on GitHub. So I'll include links in the Discord chat for all of that stuff.
Yeah, that's
and instructions on how to like build the box and things like that too.
That's great. You know, I think something exciting and sometimes intimidating about doing AC 110 types of projects. So I think it's neat if you're sharing like the types of relays that you're using and keeping this sort of thing safe, because it's a lot of fun to control 110 with a little like 3-volt signal.
It is. It can be exciting sometimes too.
Yes.
We had a little bit of excitement when we first turned it in. I made some bad assumptions about those terminal strips and how they were connected. And
Ooh.
yeah, you know, using a power strip that has a breaker in it when you first power things on is a really good idea.
Yeah, very good idea. Instead of popping a breaker in your house, just
Exactly. Exactly.
Oh, excellent. Well, that's fun, and thanks. We'll check out the link to that. You said it's on Hackaday?
It's on Hackaday. Yeah, I can link it in the Discord, and we'll come back when we have more of a Simon Says thing going with it.
Yeah. Oh, very cool. Well,
Yeah.
thank you. And you also showed off those 3D button
Yeah.
printed button enclosures previously, right? Yeah.
Yep.
That's a nice use.
Yep.
Excellent. Well, thank you so much, Carrie, and we look forward to seeing what you've got next time.
Thanks.
Bye-bye.
Bye.
All right, very cool. I've seen some surplus traffic at All Electronics and some of the other surplus stores here in LA every once in a while, and the trigger, but I'm tempted because that's pretty. Scale of it is just much bigger than household stuff usually is. All right, and let's bring up now Alvaro, who goes by Fede2 in our chat. Hello.
Hey everyone. As you can see, I'm sadly off focus, but it's something that's easily fixed. So if I can share my screen for a second.
Yeah.
Let me just a second here. I think it's there. Screen. Yeah, this one here. Are you seeing on the? Yeah.
There we go.
So this is actually a call for arms. I'm trying to make this project for, I don't know if a clue or a pipe portal, but as you can see, I have this tool called Video for Linux Control, and this tool is actually able to control the focus, the brightness, all of those horrible things that we need to control on webcams. So we always see people like doing, stuff like this, and so it would be a nice thing to actually have. So something like 80 would be like a nice focus for kind of like here. So since I can control the focus, I'm also going to show a couple of other things. These are some of the boards from the NPI of last night. Lady Eda talked about some of these chips. So these are actually two different boards. One of the is the OSHPAR version, and the other one is like the mini version. They just have different sizes of BGAs. But yes, these things are really, really cool. So if anyone wants to make their own computer, I would really recommend one of those. And I'm actually learning that because I want to make one of these someday. I'm really sad that
the blast from the past.
Yeah,
the one
I
laptop
really
per
like,
child, right?
And not so much from the past. I actually have it in my wall because I use it. It's right now my favorite ebook reader. The screen that it has, you can actually shut down the color screen, and it has an e-paper screen in the bottom.
Right.
So I still like it very much. So one day I would like to remove like the motherboard and do like a new motherboard for it. So let's see what goes. And one last thing, so that everyone can show their things. I talked to you about these things. These are basically 3D printed luthier tools. So if you're going to like have a potentiometer or something and you need to turn, this thing is a good thing. And if someone wants to print some of this, I would recommend do not print one of these. This is actually the thing you use for like a drill, and then you can add your tuning pegs. Please do not use these sort of things, because the gears that we have in here, they're so delicate, and when you do this with a drill, you just break them apart. So just a couple of tips for everybody.
That's a good tip. Yes. So the 3D printed, I have one right here because I was dealing with some panel mount stuff. So I've been taking sockets and putting tape on them just so I don't scratch panels. And I have got to go put this back in my socket set. But you've got 3D printed socket drivers in common sizes that you're using put panel mount potentiometers onto things.
Yeah, again, they're really easy to use. They're soft, so if they scratch anything, you know, they won't scratch like the paint or something.
It's very nice, but don't put your guitar pegs through a drill.
Yeah, the tuning peg's not. That's
Don't
a bad idea.
Okay,
So, yeah,
excellent.
Thank you for the show.
Yeah, and so real quick, the camera tool that you showed, is that something that you've got in a state where you're sharing that? Is that an open source project? Where's that?
Actually, that's just Video for Linux, like the tool that comes with Video for Linux. So
Okay.
anyone who has Linux can actually run the same commands that I shared. My call for arms is actually that I don't know anything about Mac or Windows. So if anyone who knows how to do this on Mac or Windows,
Yeah.
I would like to do a version that is portable so that everyone can use.
Yeah, that's a great question. If anyone has ideas about doing that from the command line on a Mac, I'd love to hear it too. I have actually been using for many years a program that I paid like $8 for in the Mac App Store that's called Webcam Settings. And it's just a little extension running in the background all the time that has sliders for these things, but it's not a command line tool. It works very well, but it does cost money. So if anyone knows of ways to access those settings, that would be great, because being able to, you know, if I let this camera do its own thing, it's going to blow out back there behind me because there's light back there. It's a piece of glass and the colors are all off. I always look green, so I always have to kind of preset some settings on that, which is useful with webcams. So yeah, I think everyone's going to become so much more fluent with webcam casting now that Zoom and classes and things are moving. Very cool. There you go. You've been messing with this. Thank you so much, Alvaro. It was great to see you, and thanks for all the different today. Take care.
Thank you. Bye.
All right, and last up we've got Mark M0. So let's bring Mark on.
Hey,
Mark. Nice to see you again.
Nice to see you.
You showed us some interesting flashing tools you developed last night, and I asked if you could tell us more about the tools you're using on the other side of that. What's on the receiving end of that?
Sure. So what's on the receiving end is this thing, which I don't know if Mike is going to call the, there we go, the Pulsar Buddy. So there's this wonderful synthesizer, which I'll show you in a moment, which is called the Pulsar. And one of the problems with the Pulsar is that it plays rhythms, but it's only geared towards 4/4. And I really like playing in crazy rhythms like 13/16 and 7/8 and other strange rhythms. And so I built this little beast, which takes a clock in on this side. I'll show you this in a moment. And then it outputs a whole bunch of other related beats for strange meters and polyrhythms. And the real fun thing about this project is I built it originally with a Feather M0 Express and a Feather OLED board. In fact, you can see that it's still a Feather OLED board there on this board. And then I eventually built a custom board and mounted everything. So this is a SMT board version, which has the processor there, or over there, and the other, we still put a Feather OLED board because it's the cheapest OLED display I can get is to buy one already mounted on the Feather board and just use that. It does say something. Like everything else was like more expensive, and I was like, oh, I have to figure out how to get it mounted or connected, and this is just, I'll just plug it in. So the cool thing about this project, let's see, I'm gonna switch to my other camera for a moment, and sorry, I don't have the totally cool hyper setup. So let's zoom out. So here is my music studio setup currently, and I don't know. Did you hear all those noises?
Yes, we're hearing that loud and clear. Thank you.
Excellent. So this orange thing is the Pulsar, which is this crazy drum machine. And then down here is, you can see I've got it connected. The patching system for the Pulsar is alligator clips, which is wonderfully hacker friendly. And so I have some of the outputs plugged into the synth. Actually, they're not plugged quite yet, but I'm going to leave that there for a moment, and let's see if I can get it to focus, because I had it focused before. Yeah, you can kind of make out what's going on there. And so if I plug one of these things in, you can hear I'm getting a metronome beat, and if I do this, that's triplets, which are going on because this is a 6-against-2 triplet, as you can see there. And so the cool thing also about this project is I spent a lot of time building a really nice UI library for changing settings. So there's 5 against 4, and you can speed the whole thing up to like the 16th, 8th notes, which is kind of crazy. And the other thing that you can't quite see is that it's getting a clock pulse, and so it's tracking the speed of the Pulsar's clock, all working automatically there. And so there's this whole sort of fun timer crazy management going on inside the processor, and there's this whole UI subsystem for dealing with this, and a lot of other goofy fun stuff.
Fantastic.
What else can I tell you about it? There it all is here, playing. It certainly plays with that. And I can go back to my other camera so we can talk. So there we are. It's all completely open hardware and open source. It's all on GitHub under my name M0, so you can find it all there. And I don't know, there's a lot of cool, fun stuff in there. I spend a lot of time doing things like all the settings are constantly written to Flash, but in a load balanced way, so it won't actually kill the Flash. It means you can just unplug it and plug it right back in. And it's exactly where you left off.
Oh, that's wonderful.
And I've written that as a reusable class. So there's a class for saving like small blocks of settings in a way that you always get it's called the settings log. There's a whole bunch of fun code in there, and open thing. I'm on Discord all the time, and I'm totally happy to help people with coding if they want to extract. Oh, the code's all open and free, so take it, extract it, mutate it, have a party with it.
That's terrific. Is it? Did you write it in C or like Arduino? Is the?
It's using the Arduino core, but it's written in C++. Most of it is, and I'm a 30-year software developer. This is actually the first piece of hardware I've ever designed.
Oh, that's fantastic.
So that was a lot of fun. It's also the first, the SMT board is the second board I've ever laid out. So that was kind of like crazy to get this thing back from the factory and have it actually work.
That's great. Congratulations, and how fun to.
Thank you. Yeah. Yeah, so it's still all in C++. I suppose the main board is, it does run the standard Feather M0 bootloader, so you can actually load anything you want on it. You could load CircuitPython on it, and if you have access to the timers, then you have access to the outputs, and the inputs are just digital ends. So you could have a party with this in Python if you wanted to.
Yeah. Oh, that's great. That's fun. Yeah, and you know what? I'm a big fan of the push encoder plus OLED as an interface for these kinds of things. You can do a lot.
Yeah, you really can if you're really careful about it. And so I'm actually pretty proud of the fun library. There's a library now where you can just define fields and say this is a value field with these 4 different values, and it does all the work. All you do is just like put it in the value in the field list, and like that just gives you this UI where you click and you choose a field and you click again and then you choose a value, and it's all done. It's really easy. So I could assemble that UI really quickly once I built that framework.
That's really great. Very cool. Thank you for showing that off.
Really
I was also really intrigued because I after you showed it a little bit last night, I looked and saw what you're up to, and I've been dabbling in like Eurorack for a year or two, and so you see a lot of very standard type of clock division things, and the wild out there ratios and stuff. I was like, yeah, you can't actually tell, but this like this is all set up now for a piece I perform, and that's in 5/4, which is kind of odd. It's funny if you notice the unit actually has there we go. It has pins because the Pulsar has alligator clips, and it has bananas because this giant box back here is a surge modular system, which is all banana jack. You can take the lid off and you can see, ta-da, there's a lot of surge modules back there. And I didn't build it for Eurorack because there's so many Eurorack clock modules out there, but I didn't anticipate the fact that after I put this out there, everyone was like, "Oh, but yours does stuff I want." Of course. Well, everyone wants the thing they see over there on the other side.
Guess.
Everyone's always a little bit banana clip curious, I think, in the Eurorack world.
Right. So so I don't know. Maybe I have sort of vague ideas in the future for a version with Eurorack jacks in the back. You could easily modify it to make it do that. So.
That's terrific. Cool. Well, thank you so much. I appreciate you coming on and giving us a little extra taste of what you got put together there. And if you want to see you performing with this or listen to some of the music, do you have any links that? Oh
yeah, the link to my music is really easy to remember. It's electric.kitchen. That's the whole URL. Just electric.kitchen.
Fantastic.
That's what I do music under. And the first video on there actually is me performing on this synthesizer and with that Pulsar Buddy unit that I built. That they're both in there. So.
Yeah. Good. Well, I encourage people to check it out. I checked out some of your music on Bandcamp and love it. So
thank you.
Check it out, people. And you know what? You might want to stick around and watch because I've decided to do one little show and tell. In fact, I'll leave you on because that's more fun.
Okay.
Let me add here.
You get a reaction video.
I do. It's much more interesting than talking straight to a camera. So add a camera here. So this is a little Eurorack horizontal ruler that I built. I milled it on a little mill and then put some bluing in there. And this is for people who do synthesizer stuff, and there are other fields where this matters, but weird measurement that's called horizontal pitch. Typically, if you look at the width of a panel or the width of a module, it's expressed in this thing called horizontal pitch or HP. So this one is a 4 HP module. This is I think a 8 HP blank panel. You just don't have any ruler that's convenient for looking at things and deciding what width they are. So Tom Whitwell actually is a guy who's in the Eurorack world. He had sent me a little he makes that had a little paper version of this along the edge, and I decided to get fancy and mill out my own little thing here. This one I kind of had I didn't plane it first, so I bled off the edge. But
that's sort of nice, actually.
Yeah, it has an old. I wanted this to be kind of the the steampunk version of synthesizers that never existed in the late 1800s or something. So this is an artifact from that era.
So what is it with electronics and the inability to pick rational units? Like when I was designing this board, like half of electronics is in mils and half of it is in metric, and like there are parts that are metric in one dimension and mils in the other.
Yeah,
I mean,
it's bonkers.
What is wrong with this industry?
It's totally right. Yeah. So this stuff is measured HP for width and U for height.
Right, which are totally other units.
It's terrible. Yeah, and then mils for thickness. So,
right.
You got me. But if anyone can clarify that or provide some history in the chat, we'd love to know more. All right. Well, thank you, Mark. I'll say goodbye and look forward to seeing you again sometime. And I think that's it. So thank you, everyone who had a lot of interesting stuff today on the show. And stop back by on next Wednesday evening. I have a blog post up in the Times listed for an hour-long show and tell, and then you can come on Thursday, half-hour edition. And I think the Ruiz brothers might be doing one on Wednesday mornings after their shows as well. So we have a bunch of opportunities to show stuff and tell stuff and see things. So come on by. For Adafruit, I'm John Park, and I will see you next time. Bye.